Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's session, Software Development, IT Teams in Harmony. We know you had a lot of options for sessions today, so we're really happy that you chose ours. I'm Jeremy Cooley, and I'm a Product Marketing Manager here at Atlassian. And then today I'm joined by two special guests. We have Jan Lawrence from Devoteam, and we also have Jason DeCruz, Senior Product Manager at Atlassian as well. But yeah, we're really happy to have you with us. Before we get started, I just want to do a quick show of hands. How many of you at your company think that collaboration between teams and departments is really important for software development? Okay. I know you're thinking, Jeremy, that's a really obvious question with a really obvious answer, and I completely agree with you. So let me ask you a slightly different question. How many of you would say at your organization that you actively invest in improving your processes and your tooling so that you can have better software development? Okay. So I saw some hands go up, but there are a few that went down. If you're one of those people who did not raise your hand, you're not alone. Last year, Atlassian and Forrester Consulting surveyed over 750 IT and engineering leaders at enterprise-scale companies across a range of industries. And what we found is that culture, processes, and technology that support robust collaboration in software development are typically ineffective or inconsistent. In fact, we found that 83% of tech leaders say that interdepartmental collaboration is critical for successful software development, and an equal number say that leadership should do more to support that. But we found that only 35% of those customers surveyed that they were actually investing in more cross-functional collaboration, whether it be processes or tooling. So about 1/3 of organizations are actively looking at their processes and tooling to improve them for software development. This study was really the catalyst for this session today. And that is a perfect segue into the mission and what we want to talk about today. As you've probably seen this slide before during your sessions while you've been here, the mission of Atlassian is to connect dev, IT ops, and business teams in ways no other vendor can. And that's what this session is all about, primarily the dev and IT ops side today. And today we're going to showcase the mission by highlighting Jira Service Management's place in the software development lifecycle specifically. And we're going to do that by showcasing two integrations with our core developer tools, which would be Jira Software and Bitbucket. And then for today's session, just to orient you on how this is all going to go, we're going to use this simplified software development loop. And here you can see we're going to be talking about three key phases. So we're going to be talking about delivery, operations, and then discovery. And as we connect these phases of the loop today, we'll see how team workflows move through this loop. And you'll also see that this process can be quite messy. Software development can be quite a messy process. As you see here, there's tons of tasks that each team or each phase needs to focus on. And we're going to try to connect the dots and how Jira Service Management can streamline this process a little bit more for you. And so for today's agenda, we're going to start with delivery and operations. Jan from Devoteam will be speaking on that. And we're going to highlight specifically a lot of change and incident management features that Jira Service Management offers to software development teams. And then we're going to talk about the discovery phase of software development with Jason. And that phase is going to focus more on demand intake, continuous improvement and feedback, analytics and reporting, automation. There's a tons of features we're going to talk about in that session as well. And then we're going to save some time at the end for Q&A. So if you have any questions for us, we're happy to answer those at the end. We'll have about 15 minutes for the Q&A. And with that, I am going to pass it over to our first presenter of the day, Jan, to talk about software delivery. The clicker, Jan.
So, thank you, Jeremy, for that great introduction. So as we said, we're going to start with looking at delivery, and we've got these various different parts of that delivery process. But first of all, I just want to look at this maybe a familiar diagram to a lot of you who are working in that DevOps arena, where we have this infinity loop, so that we have our backlog and our requirements, which in the Atlassian toolset would generally live in Confluence. Then we have Jira Software, where we manage our backlog and our software development, going through to Bitbucket, where we have our code changes and delivery, and then Jira Service Management, where we can manage that change. So I don't know how many of you are old enough to remember the bad old days where developers wrote code, and that was the end of the story. They wrote their code, and then it was somebody else's problem. Back in those days, I was a build engineer. I would merge the code from multiple developers, manually kick off a build, went to get myself a nice cup of tea, while my convoluted Perl scripts would weave their magic. Once I built it, I'd deploy to a test environment, a bunch of testers would come along and test it, and once they'd signed it all off, we'd deliver an artifact to the operations teams and run away. And it definitely was somebody else's problem at that point. The feedback would be slow and tortuous. There'd be emails, there'd be phone calls, there'd be people coming and tapping you on the shoulder, but there'd be no management of that at all. So now we're in the wonderful new world of DevOps. The DevOps paradigm being that everyone is responsible for a product, from the code commit to the full production support. The developer no longer has that get-out-of-jail-free card when they've committed their code. Pipelines run that immediately tell you of conflicts with other developers' code changes, although more frequent commits mean this happens less often. Your code is scanned for security holes and code quality, and merges are denied if it's not up to scratch. Built artifacts are deployed automatically to test environments. Test scripts are run. Again, this is relayed directly back to the developer if there are any issues found. But DevOps is not just about automation. It's about bringing the dev and ops teams closer together. And just because we've automated everything doesn't mean we can skip governance. For people who work in highly regulated environments, that governance is important. We need to manage that change. So an integration with Jira Service Management can ensure we have a full end-to-end audit trail with any required governance implemented via gated deployments. So let's see how Atlassian toolset can take us from a user story in our backlog to our code change to a deployment in a production environment, at which point we are actually delivering value to our customers. But before we can do any of this with our Atlassian toolset, we need to address some admin. Some people may find that configuring these things up can be complex. Jira admins are a skilled breed. It's not that it's rocket science, it's just you need to know what to configure where and when. There's some great documentation out there in the Atlassian support pages, but I've broken this down into two pieces, connecting Bitbucket with Jira Software, and then connecting our Bitbucket pipelines with Jira Service Management. So let's see how we configure this. So the first thing we need to do is connect Bitbucket Cloud with our Jira Software instance. And this is a site setting level. This enables us to make our code changes against Jira issue IDs within Bitbucket. So we simply go into there and we can connect to any Bitbucket workspace so long as we're using our same credentials, which, assuming we've all got nice Atlassian cloud accounts, is relatively easy. And we select what workspace we want to connect to. So next, we then need to go and add our code repository to our specific Jira software project. So we just go to our project settings, and then we've got our tool chain within Jira Software where we can set up which Bitbucket repository we want to connect to. So once we've now got Bitbucket and Jira Software talking to each other, we need to get everything talking then to Jira Service Management. So this again is a project setting on our Jira Service Management project, where we just go to our project settings and change management, and we connect pipeline. And here we can select Bitbucket, we click next, We then connect to a pipeline, and we need to also connect to a service. So in ITSM, a service is a system, a platform, or an infrastructure that provides value to your business or customers. So we can either connect to an existing service, if we've already configured these within Jira, or we can create a new one. In this case, I'm going to create a new one. So by setting up services and using them in your day-to-day processes, you can measure their success, track changes, reduce the risk of cascading problems, ensure the service responders and stakeholders are notified of any incidents, increase the quality and speed of your operations. You'd never guess I copied that from the Atlassian website, would you? So we simply set up, in this case, I'm literally just going to connect things. I'm going to set this as a tier 1 application, meaning it's business critical. I'm not going to bother with responders or approval groups at this time. We then say, what environments do we want to have change tickets created for? So in this case, I'm just going to select production, and we also select what is the kind of ticket that we actually want to create within Jira Service Management. And here say, we want a software request for change. So having done that, we'll then be prompted as to whether we want to set up gated deployments. So what gated deployments allow you to do is prevent a deployment into production happening unless the corresponding change ticket in Jira Service Management is in an appropriate status. So here we've said our change ticket needs to be in the implementing status, but if it's in the decline status, we will prevent that deployment happening at all. So, happy days, we've connected that all up. Now, this is the killer. This took me a while to figure out, why is my gated deployment not working? It's because you need to also turn it on the Bitbucket side. So once you're in Bitbucket, you need, under deployments, to then turn on that gated deployment again for the production environment. That can be a sneaky one. So having done all that, I'm now going to hand you over to my virtual assistant, Virtual Jan, who will give you a demo showing how we go from our story in our Jira software backlog to a code commit in Bitbucket, and finally a change ticket and our deployment into production. Over to Virtual Jan.
Hi all, Virtual Jan here. Here's one I made earlier. I'm going to show you how we can go from a story in Jira Software to making the change in Bitbucket code, managing that through to a change request in Jira Service Management, and then completing the deployment. Everything I'm going to show you is in relation to a very simple website. So let's have a look at that website. We can see here all our background is currently blue. So we have a request from our friends in corporate branding who have decided that our background colour should be coral. What great taste these guys have got. And we can also see here on the Jira ticket that I can have a click to create a branch. And this will take me into Bitbucket with the linked repository. It's going to create us a feature branch. It's automatically added the ticket ID into the branch name and click create. So we now have a branch. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to check this out in SourceTree. Good, so we have our branch checked out, and then I'm going to open it up in VS Code. So I want to look at the index.html, and I can see here, this is where we have our black background color set. So I'm going to remove cornflower blue, and I'm going to replace that with coral. I'll save the file. Let's go back to SourceTree, and we can see we've got the uncommitted changes there. So let's commit them. Again, I'm going to enter the ticket ID, if I could only type, and a quick summary of what I've done. Background color to coral. As you can see, after 25 years in IT, I still can't type. Commit that change. And now we push it back to Bitbucket. And we can see now on our story in Jira Software, we've got the branch and we've got the commit. If we're happy with all our changes, we can now create a pull request. Again, we can click on this directly from within Jira to make sure I'm pushing to the correct repository. What I want to do is delete the branch after the pull request is merged. We just click create pull request. So now I'm back in Bitbucket. Let's have a look at the pull request. And for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to approve my own change. I can practically hear the sharp intake of breath from everybody in the financial services industry as I do this. And then I'm going to merge by clicking the merge button. So we have a commit message which is generated automatically. It again includes Jira Story ID. And I also have the option here to transition my Jira Software story to the done status. And I want to close the source branch. So let's click merge. So our merge is complete, and this should have triggered a pipeline. So let's have a look in pipelines, and we can see here that we've got a pipeline in progress. We can see that our pipeline is now paused, and this is because there is a change request pending for this deployment. Now this is because we have configured this up for gated deployments. So good to see that that bit's working. So we then also have a link here to our change request ticket in Jira Service Management. Let's have a quick look at that. So that's taking us back into Jira Service Management. We want this to be a normal change in ITIL terms, i.e. it requires a start and end date times, a review, and some kind of approval prior to deployment. This is usually reserved for high impact changes or changes to business critical applications. I'm going to perform the set as normal transition, takes us into planning. So let's schedule the change. Set the planned start date for today, 12:30 of 1 PM. And you'll see this will show up on our calendar. We can move this around here, now it's visible in the calendar. So let's just go a little bit later, 12:45, and we click save. So having done that, we can now send this for review. So this is where your CAB or your change control board would come in and review all these tickets. We need to add an approver. Again, I'm going to break all the rules and approve my own change. So there's some useful little pieces of functionality here that are helpful for the change reviews. We have a risk summary. So this is showing us if there are any conflicts. So any other changes scheduled in the same window, or also if there's any ongoing incidents for this particular service. All good here, all nice green ticks. So I'm going to click approve. And this has now moved us into a ready for implementation status. So if you remember back when we were configuring our integrations, we set up the gated deployment such that those deployments would only start when we're in the implementing status. I have an automation rule that will now, having got the approval, will automatically move this into the correct status when the change window opens. Okay, so now our automation rule has moved our change ticket into the implementing status. Let's have a look at our pipeline. We can see that this has now kicked off again, and it is completing the deploy. The advantage of all this is we don't have to have someone hanging around waiting for the change window to open to click the button. This will all happen automatically. Your developers can go home, get some well-needed rest, or do something far more interesting. And there we go. Our pipeline has completed. We can see our change ticket has now moved to the completed status. You could also include some testing in your pipeline. As there is testing fails, you can create an automation rule to set a different resolution. For example, failed, testing failed, etc. And if we also go back and have a refresh on our Jira software ticket, that has also moved to done. So let's see if our change is successful. Let's do a refresh on our website. and all of a sudden the background has changed to coral. So we've seen how we can go from a story in Jira Software to a branch, commit and pull request in Bitbucket, and finally a deployment pipeline in Bitbucket and a change ticket in Jira Service Management with a gated deployment, so it will only happen when the change window opens. Forget going away to have a cup of tea, just go home, do something more interesting instead, while the tools all handle the deployment for you. Back to real life, Jan.
So thank you, Virtual Jan. So one of the key points that I'd like to take away from that is that we can do everything within that same pages. We're not having to bring up different applications, open different windows. We can go seamlessly from Jira Software to Bitbucket to Jira Service Management and back and forth. And they're all nicely linked together. We've got all our information in one place. So we've seen how our development lifecycle takes us through to get our changes into production. We've got the full audit trail of what happened, why, when, and by whom. If the auditors come in, we can easily pull that information together. Again, all available in one place. So we've got our website live with its lovely new coral colouring. Let's see how our Atlassian toolset can help us support that website in production. Get the ops and devs teams collaborating. So when we look at our operations, I'm going to break this down on the incident management side into 3 stages. We've got our investigation, our collaboration, and then our review. In the past, I spent a lot of time searching through source control and change management tools to find the information I require when we've had an incident. What has happened? Who did it? I'll show you how the Atlassian toolset brings all this information together in one place as we handle a major incident. So, our system's down. We've got the dreaded 500 internal server error. What happens now? So, our users, assuming we don't have some great built-in observability in there and monitoring, one of our users has found that our website is down. So they've gone to our portal and they've submitted an incident. Now, Jason will cover in a bit more details about the use of the portals, but we've got our incident submitted into here. So looking at the ticket that has been then submitted into Jira Service Management, we've got our incoming incident with a critical priority and extensive impact. This looks like a major incident to me, so let's mark it as such. We can simply do this directly within Service Management. We have a little toggle switch down there, and we can click that and mark this as a major incident, so we can then start swarming on it. So they say the first sign of madness is talking to yourself, so I'm going to hand you back to Virtual Jan.
Thank you, real life Jan. And the second sign of madness is replying to yourself. I'm going to show you some of the functionality within Jira Service Management that can help you resolve incidents in a more timely manner. We'll start at the investigation stage, swarm the incidents with others to establish a root cause, and agree a resolution and finally implement that resolution. So we had a problem with our website, the dreaded HTTP 500 error code. So let's have a look at the incident in Jira Service Management. As real life Jan mentioned, we can escalate this to a major incident. We can simply toggle this switch. You'll see we've got a nice label at the top that tells us this is a major incident, and if we go to our queues, we can see it's now in our major incidents queue. Now there's some cool new functionality in here that will help us to investigate this ticket in more detail. First thing I'm going to do is look, we have this investigate button at the top. What this enables us to do is it shows us the deployments there have been for this service. We can select these and we can mark it as a potential cause. So let's add that to the ticket as a potential cause. So we have that linked in here. What we can also see is recent changes on the same affected service. And we can also see similar requests. So it looks like this may have happened before. Let's open it in a new tab. So yes, we've got an internal error 500. that happened caused by a deployment. We also have a review on there of what happened, so we can possibly find some useful information there. Going back to our original ticket, we can see we have a related article. This will take us into Confluence. This is a page. So we see here what we've actually got here is our post-incident review on the previous incident that happened. So it looks like a restart of the service after deployment fixes the issue, so that will deal with the immediate problem. And there are some recommendations that we update the pipeline to do a restart after a deploy. That seems a bit ham-fisted to me. Maybe this time round we'll dig into that a bit deeper. So let's get some guys together on a call and let's swarm this incident. So there's a few ways we can do that here. We can create a channel. Click on this. This will create a channel in Slack. So we select our workspace, give it a channel name, just taking the default, which is the ticket ID, and we click create. We can then click on here and let's join it. So anyone else coming and looking at the ticket can also come and join this channel, and we can get people chatting together, figure out how we can resolve this. Alternatively, you may think that what we actually need is a call. So let's start a conference. Looks like I've woken up virtual Jan in the middle of the night. Let's join the session. Oh, so we already have another Jan here. A bit overloading on Jan. We can do screen sharing sessions here. We also have a chat where we can chat to people, and we can add additional users if we wish to. Bye bye. So we know that a reboot fixes the immediate problem, but in order to fix the root cause, we've discovered a code change is required. So we can create a Jira software ticket from Jira Service Management by clicking the link issue button, scrolling down, click create linked issue. Let's select the Jira software project and let's say it's a bug. Click create. And we've got our Jira software issue here. What we want to do is a post-incident review. So there's another handy button here to add a PIR. So we can see our PIR is attached here. So let's go in. Let's draft this. Put in our description. Now what we need to do is to publish this. So we export to Confluence. Operations, with our page title. And there we go, we've published that into Confluence. And we can review it in here. Alternatively, if we're happy with that, we can mark it as published. So there we have our knowledge base article for future reference, should this come up again. Hopefully this is a better resolution this time. So we've seen how the integration between Jira Service Management, Bitbucket, Opsgenie and Confluence can help us resolve our tickets sooner. Access to all the information in one place helps us investigate what has happened. Collaboration tools help us work together to establish a root cause and agree on a resolution, and a post-incident review that was done to increase the value of our knowledge base. I think I'm done here. Back to real life Jan.
Thank you, Virtual Jan. So having everything together in one place can help us get all the information we need to investigate those incidents. The collaboration channels help get everyone together, we agree on a resolution, and the post-incident reviews can help with future incidents. So we've looked how the integration between the Atlassian tools can help you bring together your delivery and operations team to deliver great service to your customers. Just harking back to one of the points that Jeremy pointed out at the beginning, was that we have 83% of customers said that it's important to have those collaboration calls. but only 35% of companies were investing in them. I'm going to hand you over now to Jason, who will show you, look at the discovery thing to complete that circle, where we can get that information we need to drive those decisions to do some of this stuff better. Over to you, Jason.
Awesome. Thank you, Real Life Jan. Let's get into talking about discovery now. When we think about discovery, we think of a continuous process. Everyone over here is probably familiar with the part that involves designing, prototyping, but this continues well after shipping in terms of iterating based on feedback or suggestions or bug reports from your customers, and also looking inward into your team to understand the team health, improve their efficiency, and identify bottlenecks and risks. By a quick show of hands, how many here think that you do iterating and improving better than you do planning? I can see you've just a few hands up there, which is really good if you do. But for those who don't, hopefully this will be pretty useful. I'm going to cover how software teams can use Jira Service Management to get closer to their customers, as well as use Atlassian analytics to better measure your team's performance. Now, one of the biggest problems we hear from our customers is that their customer feedback is siloed away, often in a different ITSM tool that only IT has access to. Let's see how Jira Service Management helps connect the dots. Now, whether your customers are internal or external, we have a number of channels to streamline demand intake and feedback. Let's start with the portal, or the help center as we call it. This is a one-stop shop to enable customers to report bugs or provide suggestions and feature requests. Even within Atlassian, we leverage Jira Service Management heavily. Our support teams use it to handle support requests. We also have projects where customers can submit feature requests or suggestions. When support teams receive issues from customers, they can look at these projects to see if there's an existing feature request or bug and link the support issue to that. And if it's not there, they can create a new one. Now, this also helps product managers and the dev team, who also have access to that, by the way. For product managers, it's great to understand the pulse of the customer. You can engage in conversations over there. You can dive deep into their different use cases, and also helps you prioritize items on your roadmap. For developers, they can solicit feedback for potential solutions, get customers to sign up for an early access program, and in general, empathize better with customer problems. Now, you can customize this portal to allow you to display your organization's branding, and in terms of the request intake, there are a variety of fields that you can use, and you can set up in such a way that it can also be used for reporting and analytics a bit later. If that's too much time, Jira Service Management also has over 300 form templates to spin this up really quickly. As an example shown over here, as a software team who wants customers to report bugs, they can just create the bug report form template. Now, the advantage of this is that these are dynamic and cascading forms, because it can only present the relevant fields to fill based on your earlier input. So it's not one big, giant form. You can also leverage advanced form validation capabilities. So teams can quickly get the right information that they need in order to make better decisions. The other channel is email. As much as some organizations try to get rid of it, email is here to stay. We support the tried and trusted email channel. With every Jira Service Management project, there is an email address provided which you can share to your customers so that any emails they send in will create issues in Jira Service Management. You can also connect your existing inboxes if you have them. The third one is around our chat tool, or conversational ticketing. Now, teams who develop for internal employees, for example, can use their favorite communication tools like Slack or Microsoft Teams for request intake and logging bugs. Now, at Atlassian, we dog food our own products. Like if I spot a bug in Confluence, for example, the quickest thing I can do is find the team on Slack, go to their channel, and buzz the team responsible. If they've set up Jira Service Management, that entire conversation can be captured as an issue in Jira Service Management for future reference. Now, great, we've got all this information from our customers in Jira Service Management. But how do we get this through to, let's say, a Jira Software sprint board? We do this through our powerful automation capabilities. Now, automation consists of a number of triggers, conditions, and actions. In this example, I'm trying to do something simple to say that whenever there's a bug reported by a customer on the portal, create a corresponding issue on a Jira Software project. In this case, the trigger that I selected will be whenever an issue gets created. Now, since I only want bugs, I set up a condition to say that if the request type is report a system problem, then do the following action. And in this case, the action is to just create an issue in the web development team's board, and I just copy the title and the summary. Now, that concludes everything around channels. Now, let's talk about how you can use analytics to supercharge your team's performance. Now, teams want to understand what's working today and where the opportunities for improvement might lie. The best teams continuously refine and optimize how they work over time. And that's where Atlassian Analytics can help. At the heart of Atlassian Analytics is the Atlassian Data Lake, which is the data store for information aggregated from your Atlassian products like Jira Software, Jira Service Management, Opsgenie, and we have Confluence and Bitbucket coming soon. Now, your teams can leverage pre-built reports and dashboards, and they can further tailor it to measure, monitor, and improve their performance over time. You can also connect third-party data as well. I'll walk through a demo a bit later, but just to give you a flavor, you can create a dashboard from one of our pre-made templates. We have templates for Jira Software, Jira Service Management, as well as Opsgenie in there currently. You can view your DORA metrics. For example, metrics like change failure rate, lead time for changes, and mean time to recovery, they come out of the box. But if you're so inclined, you can create them from scratch within minutes. We also have data from our open DevOps platform coming soon that will bring in deployments and commit data as well. As Jan mentioned earlier, management buy-in is critical. And showcasing some of these metrics and how they have improved over time with use of the tools can really get you that buy-in that you require. And speaking of creating reports, you can easily create custom dashboards using our Visual SQL builder. You can combine data from Jira Software issues, JSM incidents, as well as third-party data like cost data, for example. Another thing that you can do is collaborate on the dashboard. You can also set up subscriptions when values are triggered so that you can get the information that you require. A question often comes up is around access control. For those who need strict access control, Atlassian Analytics provides all the controls you need to ensure privacy and compliance. You can choose your data based on projects for Jira Software and Jira Service Management and schema for assets. You can also control who has access to the data. Only those given access to the connection will be able to do anything with the data. There are also separate access controls for the dashboards that have been created from this data. And you can be as open as you'd like, depending on your company policy. Now, what I'd like to do is walk through a brief demo of Atlassian Analytics and showcase some of the shiny new functionality.
Hey everyone, I'm going to run you through a quick demo of our Atlassian Analytics offering to showcase the new functionality we have to help software teams get the most out of Jira Service Management and Jira Software. Atlassian Analytics is available to you if you have at least one Enterprise Edition product out of Jira Software and Jira Service Management. You have a choice of data sources, including the Atlassian Data Lake for Atlassian data, as well as a variety of third-party data sources for any third-party data. Only org admins have the ability to create connections to Atlassian data sources. You can pick from a variety of Jira Service Management and Jira Software projects. In this case, let's assume that the legal service desk has some private information, so you can omit that as well as any legal contracts from your Insight CMDB. After creating the connection, it's now time to give access to the data. Depending on your company, you can either choose to grant access to everyone who has access to Atlassian Analytics or only specific people. And for these specific people, you can choose what permission levels to grant access to. Atlassian Analytics allows you to create dashboards from scratch or use one of our predefined templates. You just need to pick the data source that you've just created, and you have templates for Jira Service Management, which includes request management, change management, as well as incident management practices. There are also reports for the Insight CMDB, your Jira software projects. You also have Jira software flow metrics, if those are things you track, as well as Opsgenie alert analytics for those teams who use Jira Service Management and Opsgenie for alerts. In this case, my team uses Jira Service Management for alerting. So I'll create an alert analytics dashboard. Now this dashboard comes with a number of filters and charts. For example, there's a date filter allowing you to pick your relevant time frame. You can also choose to look at only closed or open alerts if you so wish to. This dashboard comes with a number of charts, including alerts by priority and date, and alerts by team. Now all of this is infinitely customizable, so you can either modify this or you can add charts to this. Let me go ahead and add a chart, and I want to look at the number of incidents that I have in Jira Service Management. Now, Atlassian Analytics has this visual SQL editor, which allows you to create custom reports with drag-drop functionality with data from Jira Software, Jira Service Management, Opsgenie, as well as account data. Now, in order to create a chart showing incidents by impact, I will go to the incident table and pick the issue ID, and I want a count of distinct issue IDs. And then I will pick the impact field. And these are all custom fields, which are relevant to the incident management category. I can quickly add a filter. As you know, the main dashboard had a date filter. So what I can do is link this chart to that date filter. So when the date filter is changed, the chart automatically updates. Now the query runs and we get a default chart out of the box as well as a table below, so you can edit the table and edit the charts. Now let's say I want to add source as another field. So I'll just pick source and run this. Now you can't necessarily use this over here, so I will just change the type of chart being used, and you can see your incidents by impact and source. As you can see, some have not been classified correctly, so there are null values. You may want to remove them. Now I can just save it to the dashboard. Now, Atlassian Analytics allows full customization of the dashboard, so you can drag the chart wherever you want. In this case, I'm just placing it where there's already a gap in the dashboard. And there you have it. Now you can also collaborate on the chart. For example, I can tag somebody on my team to tell them to go and check why there are so many null values in the issues. Clearly, the incidents haven't been captured properly. You can also share the dashboard, set up subscriptions. For example, you can share the link to anyone with the people and they've given them permission, or you can put it into a Confluence page. You can also add things like an email subscription. For example, I want to send this dashboard to the mobile team, but I only want the alerts for that team to go through. I can use one of the filters and filter it by the mobile team. And then you just add the recipients and a subscription is created.
Yeah, thank you, real life Jan and Jason. I really appreciate you doing that for us. We're running a little short on time, so I want to make sure that you all have an opportunity to ask questions today. With the end of this presentation, we've obviously completed our software development lifecycle loop here. There are a ton of features that we were not able to cover in this 45-minute time frame. There's features in Opsgenie that are included with Jira Service Management for incident management functionality. There's so much that we could talk about when it comes to automation. There's assets. There's so many features that can also plug into the software development lifecycle that we were not able to talk about today. So for that, we have provided a few resources for you to check out. Feel free to scan these QR codes. The first resource is going to talk more about Jira Service Management and Jira Software's integration. At the end of this page on the contact form, there are 4 additional resources, including videos that you can check out. The second resource is a blog post talking about the integration between Jira Service Management and Bitbucket. And then the final resource is our analytics and data lake page on the Atlassian website. But with that, I want to turn it over to everyone in the audience to answer any questions that you might have for me, Jason, or Jan.
Do we have any questions?
Yeah, mic runners, do we have any questions in the audience? I can't see right now, but...
Ooh.
Hello.
Hey.
Yeah, Matthew from the London Internet Exchange. So thanks for the presentations. And my question relates to the fact that our organization is classed as critical national infrastructure for the UK. So we have JSM and Jira Premium Clouds, and we have Bitbucket Data Center. And because of pending TSR regulations that are coming up, we may not be able to migrate that to the cloud. And if we did, we'd want it in the UK versus EU. So is there any possibility, if we're unable to migrate to Bitbucket Cloud, to then integrate Bitbucket Data Center with the cloud and achieve the features and integrations that you've shown here today?
I believe there is some ongoing work. They're certainly looking at integrating with GitLab and GitHub, which is going to be released soon. And Atlassian would be crazy not to integrate with Data Center, Bitbucket. But as far as the cloud hosting is concerned, I know they're definitely looking at cloud hosting in the UK for, I'm not sure which quarter, but one of them in 2023.
Yes, but even in the UK, we may not be able to have it hosted into the cloud. So just curious, it's Bitbucket Data Center integrating with JSM and all that would be fantastic for us, but currently we're blocked.
Yeah, I think maybe what we can do is, if you want to come meet with us after the session is over, we can get your contact information, and I can definitely do some more research for you on that. I don't think we'll have an immediate answer right now, but we can definitely do some research for you, and I can contact you and let you know for sure, if that works for you. Yep. Yeah, cool.
Hello.
Hey.
Sorry. I just got a quick question on licensing again. I was just wondering, with Atlassian Analytics, is there going to be any offering for the premium or standard tiers? Because at the moment, I think it's exclusive to enterprise. Yes. And the other aspect around licensing was it's amazing to have that information, but how shareable is it to non-licensed users who may be kind of business owners, or they may be site managers, or they may be regional managers, but not necessarily an agent with the Atlassian ecosystem?
Yep. Thank you for the question. Sorry, I can't see where you are, but let me try to answer it. So currently, Atlassian Analytics is available to only enterprise users, but they need to have at least one enterprise product. So for example, if you have JSW Enterprise, and let's say you have JSM Standard, you still get Atlassian Analytics and the data lake for all of the data. The only difference is that the people with the enterprise license will be able to create reports using Visual SQL. Consumption can be done by everybody. So and because the dashboards can be pasted onto a Confluence page, for example, you don't even need to have a JSM license in order to see this, in order to see the dashboards. Hope that answers the question.
Hi. So in the analytics dashboard creation, it looks like the visual SQL stuff allows you to drag and drop quite easily. But can you create your own measures, your own statistics and things like that programmatically as well, in the same sort of sense that you can with something like EasyBI or Tableau or Power BI?
Yep. So that's a good question, and I think so. I did not show it in the demo because I'm not a good SQL coder, but you can either use the visual drag drop or you can write your own custom queries just using SQL. So you'll be able to write your own formula and things like that. Even within Visual SQL, once you get the table, you can do things based on that. You can add like a measure, add a custom formula, so on and so forth.
Hello, I'm Andrei from Alten Kepler. You may have already addressed this point, but whenever there's talk about reportings, actually in analytics, is it possible to export those in any form?
Yes. So on the dashboard, you can share a link, but what you can do is also export the charts themselves as a PDF, for example. Or you can export the chart data via CSV.
Perfect. Thank you.
It's a question over here.
Yeah, there's a question down here. If we.
So, my name's Tom. So, where you demoed about the integration with Bitbucket, and you also very recently said that there's also work happening on GitHub. How would the integration work if we were to use GitHub and totally bypass Bitbucket? Could you still get the visibility in the Jira issues of the commits and the pull requests?
Yes, the intention is that it would look pretty much the same as it does with Bitbucket now. So you should still have that, the deployments show up in your investigations on your incidents and have that full integration across. So I think the intention is that it would look pretty much the same, whichever source control it is you're using.
Okay, but when you say the intention, is that integration still being worked on?
I believe there was an announcement this morning in the keynote where they were saying, yes, it's what they're working on
I saw there were
now.
like 4 initially and then 2 added. I didn't know if there was like a date for that.
Don't know the date.
Yeah, I don't know the date specifically. We can, once this is over, I can definitely confirm with you. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure what the date is right now. I think it's supposed to be in the next quarter from what I understand, but we can confirm. Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Hi, I'm Omar. I'm a software engineer apprentice for M&G, and I'm building a new automation project for the business. I just have a couple questions for what you brought up regarding JSM. Is it possible to use an integrated API service or something similar to create an automatic branch creation and have the automation system create those changes and deploy it and create its own pull request?
That is probably possible, yeah. I do believe there is a Bitbucket API and APIs for other source code control tools, and we can, using automation rules within Jira Service Management or Jira Software to trigger off those API calls to create that. So yes, it is possible. It's probably not one of those nice, easy, out-of-the-box things, but it's absolutely possible.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hey guys, Dave from BMG Music. So I'm not sure if this is the right forum for this, but I'll ask it anyway, and we'll see how we go. But excuse me, you touched on the risk calculator before in the deployment. So separating whether it's a standard change or a normal change. So one of the things that we're trying to do at the moment is to move away from the old school way of doing change management and kind of bring it in line with what you guys are showing here. But I'm just curious as to what extent, excuse me, sore throat, to see what you can factor into that risk calculation. So For instance, can it link to objects in assets to determine if it's like a production service, if it's got any particular tags or attributes, etc.?
Yeah, so if you noticed on those, the change issue within Jira Service Management, we are linking to the service within assets. So yes, you can have that. And for this particular demo that we did here, we were having a tier 1, so which, because it's for a highly critical app, we weren't allowing standard changes, so everything would go through as normal. But yes, you can have that configuration within your services, your service catalog, to determine whether you allow standard changes or normal changes. And I believe they were, again, in the keynote earlier today, they were showing some additional functionality on that risk calculation to enable you to make those decisions as to whether it would be a standard or a normal change.
Okay, awesome. Is there some online documentation I could check out for that? Like, I'm really curious to explore the risk calculator.
There is some. We can certainly, again, if you have a chat to us afterwards, we get your contact details, we can pass that on to you.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Are we done?
Any other questions? Yeah, sorry, we were not able to see anyone in the audience. It's like the surface of the sun right here.
Yeah, it is. Trooper lights are going to blind me.
Yeah, if there are no other questions, I was asked to remind everyone that we still have a ton of merch at the merch bar. So if you want a beanie, a t-shirt, a sticker, a tattoo, we have all that available for you. The merch bar is back in the main hall, where you would get the refreshments in a movie theater at the back. But we have a ton of stuff left, so if you are keen, feel free to go and grab some. And then, yeah, we'll have some entertainment in just a little bit with will.i.am. But yeah, if there are no other questions, we just want to thank you all for attending today. We really appreciate it, and thank you.